challenging verse this morning. Canto 3, Chapter 6, text number 18. Tvacham asya vanirbhinam Vivishur dishnyam oshadhi Amsena romabhi kandhum Yair asau pratipadyate Tvacham asya vanirbhinam Vivishur dishnyam oshadhi Amsena romabhi kandhum Yair asau pratipadyate Boy. Tvacham, skin, asya, of the gigantic form. Vinir Vinam, being separately manifested. Vivishuhu, entered. Dishnyam, the controlling deity. Oshadhi, sensations. Angsena, with parts. Roma bihi, to the hairs on the body. Kandum, itching. Yai, by which. Asau, the living entity. Pratipadyate, experiences. Translation. When there was a separate manifestation of skin, the controlling deities of sensations and their different parts entered into it, and thus the living entities feel itching. And happiness due to touch. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. For sense perception, there are two principal items, touch and itching. And both of them are controlled by the skin and hairs on the body. According to Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti, the controlling deity of touch is the air passing within the body. And the controlling deity of the hairs on the body are Oshadhya. For the skin, the object of perception is touch. And for the hairs of the body, on the body, the object of perception is itching. Any questions? So like yesterday, I was scratching my head, puzzled how to give a Bhagavatam class on this verse. So I'll wing it. But my understanding is primarily this first half of the class, or the next 18 minutes, is to be directed towards the larger number of personalities in the room here, the Gurukul, or the students. So I'm going to do several things that are, by design, it's hopefully going to be interesting and interactive. First of all, what's this all about anyways? So there's a nice verse. Those of you who are controlling the screen can put verse 11. What's going on here is there's a conversation between a teacher and a student. And the teacher is Maitreya, and the student is Vidura. Of course, he's quite learned and quite elderly, but Maitreya is a very elevated personality, and Vidura is asking questions of Maitreya. And the topic at this particular juncture is the unfolding of the universe. So in case you wanted to know what happened, this is what happened. And after the principle of the universe, the elements for the universe are manifest, then come the demigods. Because without demigods, matter is kind of helpless. So demigods help. And they control, they're empowered. Specifically, the commentary says, Prabhupada's purport says, the demigods are empowered, representatives, as we are also empowered. For those of you that aren't sitting in the front, like I'm sitting in the front, this devotee that played Mridanga, same? Was it you? Very good Mridanga player. And there were about 8 or 9 other Mridanga players using their knees as Mridangas. One of them still doing it. But the kirtan is over, so you can just chill it for a while. The ability of any one of us comes from the same source. And that same source is the personality of Godhead. And demigods get their ability to do what they do from the same source, the personality of Godhead. Each of us has a different function, and those functions may, in course of time, become modified by the source of all functions, the source of all energy, the source of all ability. Coming attractions, after all of this happens, even the demigods, in combination with all the items of creation, nothing happens because they're not cooperating, and then something else happens. This Lord Vishnu enters the universe, and then they can start cooperating. Coming attractions. Stay tuned. Because the universe doesn't manifest without a controller behind it, but even the functioning of that which is manifest can't function without a person at the steering wheel, making or giving direction to those demigods who have their hand on the steering wheel. And then living entities that have their hand on the steering wheel, they get the ability to do what they do from the demigods. In other words, the Bhagavat conception is there's a source of everything. And how everything connects with the source is a mystery. Sometimes technology allows persons who are into technology to understand when something over here wiggles, something over there wiggles. Cause and effect. They don't know the cause of all causes. They just see cause and effect. And then they take that cause and effect principle and make some gadgets or technology or something and make money, because it's based on cause and effect, without any real interest or education. What's the cause of what is that which is the cause of all these causes that cause effects? Good news, everybody. Srimad Bhagavatam tells us from the get-go, and other Vaishnava texts like Brahma Samhita. Those of you that know the first verse of Brahma Samhita can say it with me. I'm sure some of our students know the verse. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. So the last line, Sarva Karana Karanam. Govinda is the Karana of all Karanas. He's the cause of all causes. And there's no cause of him. He's the original person from whom all effects come, which then become causes of some other effect, which then makes the universe and gives people jobs to learn technology and wiggle this over here and that wiggles that over there and make you living, because you learn cause and effect without knowing the original cause. So you're in the category of very fortunate persons who are hearing about the cause of all causes in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And one of the things that's caused is the universe, and we're hearing about how it all happens. Here's a question. Ready? Is it possible to know what happened before you existed? No. 10th chapter Bhagavad Gita. 10th chapter Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, nobody knows me. The great demigods, the great rishis, the great this ones and that ones, they don't know me because I existed before they existed. But there is a way to know what existed before you existed. What's that? When Krishna discloses it, then you can know it. And how does Krishna disclose? We heard it yesterday, through sound. And through sound you can know what existed before you existed. The classic example that Prabhupada gives thousands of times, not just hundreds. If you want to know who your father is, there's no research you can do. You can't have direct experience of it because your father existed before you existed. And you can't do any experiments to find out. There's one way to find out. There's only one way to find out. Ask your mother. And if your mother doesn't tell you the truth, then you're never going to know. The only way to find out is ask your mother, and then you know. Although that exists before you existed. But you can know on the authority of mother. Similarly, the Vedas, emanating from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, have a feminine characteristic, and the Vedas reveal who is the father. And if you don't go to the Vedas, you're never going to know. You can guess, perhaps, maybe this, that, have a philosophy, become a PhD, become a smart guy, and you'll never know. And those who hear from you will also never know because you don't know. But there's one way to know. The sound that comes, this was yesterday's class, the sound that comes from the perfect person. The perfect person is the source of everything, Krishna. So, that's a little background on what's going on here. And then next, number 2, I want to make a connection between this verse 18, and someone can put on the screen verse number 16. I'm going to read what verse 16 said, the translation. When there was a manifestation of skin separate from the gigantic form, that's the universal form, Anila, the deity directing the wind, entered with partial touch, and thus the living entities can realize tactile knowledge. So the operative word here is Anila, which means the deity controlling the wind. And it's almost the same thing in verse 18, this morning's verse. I'll read the translation. When there was a separate manifestation of skin, the controlling deities, plural, of sensations and their different parts entered into it, and thus the living entities feel itching and happiness due to touch. So the word that's used in text 16 is connected to 18 as well, and that's Anila, which means the controlling deity of wind. Now I'm going to ask you for volunteers. This is the interactive part. Another name for Anila is Vayu. So I'm going to ask for one of 3 meanings of Anila. Vayu. There's several meanings of the word Vayu. One is the controlling deity of the wind. Question, oh learned students. Who is Vayu? The Lord of the Wind, controlling deity of wind, because that's what it just said. Now, Vayu became the father of 3 very important personalities in our Vaishnava literature. Who is the first person in our Vaishnava literature that Vayu became the father of? Put your hand away from your mouth so I can hear you. Hanuman. How did that happen? Hanuman had a father, and the father of Hanuman was Vayu. According to Ramayana, when the demigods went to Lord Vishnu and said, "Help! Ravana, he's a universal terrorist, please help. We can't do anything." He said, "Sure, I'll help. I'll deal with him. And I want you to assist me. Here's how you can assist me. Because he's got this benediction, and I, Lord Vishnu, uphold the benedictions of Brahmanas. He's got a benediction, he can't be killed by this, that, and the other thing. So you make yourselves available," listen to the word, "angsa," or partial expansions of you, within species that he doesn't have a benediction that he can't kill. The monkeys was one, or Vanaras. So Vayu became the father of Hanuman, who became a monkey, but Vishnu said, invest powers in each of these persons that are your offspring that have powers equal to your powers. So Vayu is very powerful, and Hanuman had powers like Vayu. Next. You don't know what the question is yet. You got your hand up. Let's go over on the girls' side. Well, you got your hand up. I didn't ask the question yet. You're very enthusiastic, but wait for the question. Here's the question. In addition to Hanuman, who is the son of Vayu, who is another very important personality, Bhima. You agree or disagree? Bhima. He's agreeing. We have two to say Bhima. You have a third idea? Besides Bhima? What's the third idea? Huh? No, Vayu is the father. Vayu is... Put your hand down. Put your hand down. Oh my God, they're leaving already. You want to say something? Go ahead. What? I couldn't hear. No. Murari Gupta. Wait a minute, Murari Gupta. What's happening? Are they leaving or staying? Or... Okay. 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 Whatever's going on. I'm just a participant. So Bhima had powers. Boy, did Bhima have powers. And there's a third very important personality in our Vaishnava history who is also an incarnation or partial incarnation of Vayu. And who is that? No. Starts with an M. No, the children. Who? Madhvacharya. Very good. Very good. Madhvacharya is a very important personality in our disciplic succession because Brahma received knowledge directly from Krishna, right? And then in course of time, the teachings that came from Brahma to Narada, to Vyas, were then gathered and assimilated in a very cohesive manner by Madhvacharya. So he is a partial manifestation, and he had powers like Bhima and Hanuman. Whoa! He wasn't just like a nice fellow or smart. He had powers like Vayu, without the details and details. There's many details. So Vayu is really important. That's one of our understandings of the word Vayu. Next, what's another understanding of the word Vayu? I don't see any hands. There are 5 gross elements. One of them is air. Anyone here in our students, wait till I ask the question. Who knows what the 5 gross elements are in Sanskrit? It starts with Bhumir, Apo, Analo, Vayu. Right? You don't know. Okay. Any of our learned scholars over there on that side know? Earth, water, fire, air. So the word for air in Bhagavad Gita, used again and again, Vayu. That's another meaning of the word Vayu. Air. It's the element air. So there's the god of air, and there's the element air. How are we doing? Is this okay so far? Yes. Okay. Now, here in Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3, Chapter 6, we're also hearing another application of the word Vayu, only the previous verse, 16, is Anila, which means the same thing, the demigod of air, who enters into this universal form that allows the living entities, that's us, to have the sensation of touch. Because if he didn't do that, we have a body that it's numb. We can't have the sensation of touch without the demigod that enables that to happen. So it's another application of Vayu, with the demigod. And then in this morning's verse, this is for our student group, very curious. In addition to the sense of touch, which is enabled by the demigod Vayu or Anila, there's hair. Now, I don't know, so if somebody wants to ask me, the answer is I don't know. This controlling deity of hair is identified by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur as Oshadhya. Oshadhya. The controlling deity of the hairs on the body is Oshadhya. Who is he? I don't know. He's the controlling deity of the hairs on the body. That's who he is. I don't know anything more about him than what's right here. So there's a relationship between hairs on the body and the skin, because hairs on the body are connected to the skin. And specifically, the hairs on the body give an itching sensation. Not always, but if there's itching sensation, that's where the itching sensation comes from. And the itching sensation has a controlling deity. So the background of all of this is what? The background is this whole of the material creation, we discussed this a little bit yesterday, the whole of the material creation comes about because we wanted it. Come again? We wanted it? Well, we didn't necessarily want it, but we wanted separate enjoyment, which was a really dumb misuse of our capacity for free will. We have tiny free will, and the propensity to use or misuse is there within the living entity because there's free will. And those who opt for misusing it, the material world is created. And once that misuse of free will is activated and the material world is there, it's really hard to get out because we become attached. So I'm going to do something now that I did with a home program with young people that, like you, they grew up in devotee families, and so it was a little kids interactive session. Supposing we're in the category of living entities that misuse free will, and the idea is, I want to enjoy. So the material world is created, and here we are, wanting to enjoy. And we try this, we try that, we try the other thing, and by trying, we implicate ourselves in karmic bondage. Even good or bad or mixed is bondage. And the happiness we expected isn't what we experience. And then because of that attempt for enjoyment, there's another body, and there's another body, and there's another body, and another body, and it keeps trying. And at some point, a little light might go on saying, you know what? It's not working out. Question. It seems like it could be a simple thing, just do a U-turn and go back where we came from and Haribol. So why isn't it so simple? Why we can't just do a U-turn and go back where we came from and Haribol? What's the reason?
Can't go back in time.
No, that's not the answer, because let me just respond first, then you next. Because it's not saying going back in time is, you may take some time to go back where we came from, but it's not, you can't go back in time. We just do a U-turn and go back where we came from. Why is it? Why is it not just do a U-turn? Ready. Because why? We chose to come here. But now I changed my mind. I don't want to come here anymore. So why can't I just do a U-turn? No, let somebody else. Yes.
Because we show we stuck here to do devotional service for Krishna.
His voice is soft. What did he say?
We're stuck here to do devotional service for Krishna.
Well, that's the way to go back. But supposing that option is presented, and we don't choose that option. Go ahead. Yeah. The desire to enjoy is still there. I want to enjoy. And there's another very clear, plain reason why it's not just do a U-turn. What's the real, clear, plain reason? Girls, volunteers. It's ABC, it's not difficult. We're attached. We're attached to the idea of enjoying, and we're attached to the objects. We're attached. So it's not just like do a U-turn, because we're not attached to the misery. That's the impetus for a U-turn, but we're attached to the sources of misery in the mood of enjoyment. So they're very close or connected, but it's not so easy. So we continue to struggle. What's necessary is we have to change the channel to, instead of our happiness or the body, the senses meeting sense objects saying that's happiness, there's happiness on the platform of the soul. Okay. You're the privileged ones, you guys get to stay, huh? So, how to get to the platform of happiness of the soul? We're over here in the attached and I want to enjoy kingdom. But I don't like the suffering that goes with that program. And so it makes those two problems make it difficult to do a U-turn. I have to let go of the two, the attachment to the idea of being the enjoyer and the objects which I'm supposed to be the enjoyer of. It's not happening. You can't just like trash it. We talked about it yesterday in the morning Bhagavatam class. You have to replace it with something. Param drishtva nivartante. Any of you boys know Bhagavad Gita verses? Vishaya vinivartante, niraharasya dehinam, raso varjam, rasopyasya, param drishtva nivartante. You ever heard that one? You haven't heard that one? No response. Okay. The verse is saying, Vishaya means sense enjoyment. Vishaya vinivartante. It's very difficult to let go of Vishaya, sense enjoyment, for those who are embodied. The attachment to the object of enjoyment and the spirit of enjoyment is really hard to let go of the object, but it's possible. And how is it possible? By experiencing a higher taste. Higher taste. Higher taste. There's a nice book, cookbook, Higher Taste. Pram drishtva nivartate, pram drishtva nivartate. By experiencing a higher taste. And the higher taste of happiness, instead of the sense enjoyment, Vishaya type, is happiness of the soul. And what's the happiness of the soul? Go ahead.
Like the service that you do to Krishna.
Service to Krishna.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, thank you. Now how do you get on that channel? That's the right answer. That's the concept or the theory. How do you get to that channel in the back?
By getting certain messages.
Yeah. Well, we hear these nice messages of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and we just follow or take steps in the direction of. We're not there yet. It's like, you guys all know what a GPS is, right? Okay. GPS is a real nice device, but if you don't know where your destination is, good luck. And if you know what the destination is, you properly put it in your GPS. Supposing you make a wrong turn. There's a fork in the road and you went left instead of right. GPS is going to tell you how to get back to the path that's going to take you to the destination. That's when you have a good GPS. So bhakti is a good GPS system. If you know what the destination is, and you put your heart and soul and words and body and mind and, the whole shebang, you direct it towards Krishna's happiness, which was your answer, serving Krishna. And then that's the teaching, and then it's the application of the teaching. And sure enough, it may take a while to get to the destination, but you'll get to the destination. You have a good GPS, you keep moving in the direction. Yesterday evening, I think it's time for the remainder to take off. Yesterday evening, we heard about Lord Nityananda. Boys, it's time to go? Okay, see you later. I don't know if I would make a good school teacher in your school, because these kids are a little restless. You gotta have a lot of patience.
We appreciate everything you did for us, Raj. Thank you.
Okay. Don't sign me up to become a teacher, though. Wait for the commotion to settle a little bit before I continue. Different temple room. Yesterday evening, there was a discussion about Lord Nityananda and the associates that went with Lord Nityananda to fulfill the instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to go to Bengal and fulfill his mission of propagating the Yuga Dharma in Bengal. Bengal then was much bigger than today. So they went. But they were so much absorbed in the ecstatic love of Godhead, they didn't know where they were. And when they found out they were 20 miles off course, they just laughed and tried to go the direction and asked somebody else, and they said, "Oh, you have to go way over there." And eventually they made it because they knew the destination, because it was given to them by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we may be like that a little bit. We have a destination of, say, Shuddha Bhakti or Shuddha Nam. It may take a while to get there. But we just have a good GPS, that's Tivra Bhakti, and stay on track with Tiva Bhakti. And the course correction is built within the GPS system, because Krishna will help us. That's the good news. Even if we make mistakes, a little foolish, and little this and little that, the help will come, because that's Krishna's system. It's his GPS system. He'll bring us to him. That's his promise. And he keeps his promise to his devotees. So I wanted to do something else this morning with the 12 minutes we have, then some questions. Just like with the kids, there's different, the nomenclature vayu, and there's different application. There's another one, there's prana. I have 2 of these. This is the interactive part with the adults. Is there a connection, and if so, what's the connection between vayu, or air, or the demigod in charge of air or wind, and prana? Because in the commentary for verse 16 from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he speaks of prana instead of anila or vayu. It's kind of like an Ayurvedic question, but it's, what's the connection? Is there a connection between air, we breathe, and prana? You have the answer? Do we have a microphone for this nice Vaishnavi?
Is it prana part of the yogic system of controlling the air in the body?
Yeah, but prana means life air, correct? So the question is, what's the connection between the air out there and the life air that's circulating within the body? That's the question. What's the connection? Is there?
Yes.
What's the connection?
We can control elements from prana. Like if we control the breathing process, we can elevate the soul.
That's a separate. And in contrast, we can't control the wind.
Yeah.
So what's the connection between the wind and prana? You have an answer?
Haribol Maharaj. I'm thinking that prana and the wind, its sound vibration can be transmitted through both of them.
Say it slower.
Sound vibration, both are needed to transmit sound vibration.
Okay. There's some overlap of function, sure. But wind is not as needed as akash or sky is needed, because what we heard yesterday is sound is a subtle form of ether, so it's more connected with ether than with the wind, the transmission of sound. Yes?
Hare Krishna. 2 things. It can be said that it's life prana means it's with consciousness, Chaitanya. It's with our consciousness. And second thing, in Tamal Krishna Goswami's lectures, he says that Vayu is the prototype of demigod. Krishna's
Vayu is the prototype of?
Demigods, prototype of demigods. In the 10th verse, this comes just before this. And before that, this chapter, it says the Krishna's potencies.
I'm having a hard time hearing. I don't know about anybody else. My hearing is bad. It's not you, it's me.
Sorry.
Try again. I got...
Lord's potencies separated and became these 5 demigods.
Yes.
Controlling the 5 elements.
Yes.
And from them, later Maruts expand, 49 Maruts Prabhupada says elsewhere. And then out of, I'm not sure which ones, there are some controlling deities for the prana, the life airs.
That's interesting, but it doesn't answer the question. The question is, what's the connection or relationship between Vayu, or the air, or the controlling deity of air, and prana? That's the circulation of air within the body, or life air within the body. Is there a connection? Huh?
Is the expansion
Prana is the expansion?
of life, yes.
Prana is the expansion of Vayu, of air within the
Yes.
universe.
Yes. I can type it for you.
She's got something. Expansion.
Actually, in this chapter in text 9, Prabhupada also talks about it in the purport. He says, just read a part of it. The movements of the body are first generated from the heart, and all the activities of the body are made possible by the senses, powered by the 10 kinds of air in the body.
Yes.
The 10 kinds of air are described as follows. The main air passing through the nose in breathing is called prana. And then he describes the further vayus, or the different kinds of prana. The air which passes through the rectum as evacuated bodily air is called apana. The air which adjusts the foodstuffs within the stomach and which sometimes sounds as belching is called samana. The air which passes through the throat and the stoppage of which constitutes suffocation is called the udana air.
Okay. That's listing the 10. I somehow have this understanding, and I think it's from an Ayurvedic doctor, that while prana does what prana does, it's not just like breathing, you breathe in air and then you get more prana, or somehow like I think the expansion of air is prana. It's like, I'm asking because I don't know, not because I got the answer, and I'm fishing for the right answer. To me, it's not clear. Expansion of, you have something? You're raising your hand.
What I heard from Madhacharya's life, that he is an extension of Mukhya Prana.
Mukhya Prana, yes.
And this prana that carries the soul, I, the soul, carried by the prana, when I leave this body, prana carries me to the next destiny. It's directly connected with the Mukhya Prana. Every living being. It is not only oxygen or carbon dioxide or whatever. It appears like this, but this prana that carries the soul is directly connected with the Mukhya Prana. Mukhya Prana is connected with this breath of the Vishnu that inhale, exhale, the whole creation. So when the fourth annihilation takes place, Attante Pralay, according to 12th canto, 7th chapter, that time this prana is purified by the bhakti process, then the soul is out from this material creation. Otherwise is never. Prana carries the soul forever until complete annihilation takes place.
So the prana within the body is connected to Mukhya Prana, which is the breathing of the Supreme Lord.
Yes.
Which is different than, quote, air.
Correct.
Not the same.
Correct.
Mataji, you want to disagree with that?
I'll send you the clip of the Ramakrishna Goswami's class, and maybe you can
Okay.
hear it as well. It was given in 93 in Alachua.
Okay. I'm looking at the clock and we have robust 5 minutes left. I wanted to ask another question, but I'll hold off and see if there's some questions from the devotees in the room. And otherwise I'll ask my other questions. Yes?
I have a question.
You quoted that verse, Vishaya Vinirvartanti Niraharasya.
Yeah.
In the purport, I remember Prabhupada says when someone tastes the beauty of the Lord, then he can
Let go.
dissolve all the material, dead matter. Prabhupada used the word dead matter. Taste for the dead matter is gone. What is your explanation, the beauty, tasting the beauty? What does that means?
Well, it's another way of saying the same thing is what I discussed yesterday, this definition given by Jiva Goswami of what akama is. The akama, the swasukha, is the happiness of the Supreme Lord, Parama Purusha Sukha. And so that beauty is experiencing, that's one of the opulences, and there's, other opulences of Bhagavan, but experiencing the direct experience of that, the direct experience of the Lord's happiness or the Lord's beauty, whatever his features are. And that's what it is. So if there's a direct experience of that, then the Vishaya is gone. Light is on, darkness is dispelled. So the ignorance is gone with knowledge. The knowledge is the direct experience of the word that you're asking specifically is the word beauty. But my understanding of my response to your question is not just beauty, it's the opulences of Bhagavan, the bhagas of Bhagavan, one of which is beauty, the direct experience of that. And until then, it's lingering. It's like this question of the kids. Why can't I just do a U-turn? And there are different spiritual teachings want to do a U-turn. Like, let it be nothing. Void.
Can I ask you another question on that?
Which one?
In this topic.
Go ahead.
It's in Adilila, chapter 4, 160. In the purport, Prabhupada writes, he cites Rupa Goswami Pad's definition of love. Sarvata dhangsa rahita saptapi dhangsa karane jabava vandanam juna swaprema purikirtita. So I'm paraphrasing what I remember Prabhupada's translation. Even if there is an ample reason to dissolve this love, cannot. So if we took it we left.
Detour, yeah.
How is that? Is it dissolved? Then our love originally was not there, or
no? It's covered. It's covered by ignorance. Just give it a nice word and call it ignorance. But there are different ways of describing what that ignorance is. But forgetfulness, Maya, covered by the illusory potency of the Supreme Lord, called ignorance or forgetfulness, or it's never gone. It's covered.
But it seems like it takes too long to uncover.
Well, that was the question I asked the kids. Just do a U-turn.
In connection to that question, how is Srila Prabhupada seeing the beauty of Krishna?
How is Prabhupada seeing being with Krishna?
They're not seeing the beauty of, in terms of that question, it's just another question arises is, how is Srila Prabhupada, when he says that, when Srila Prabhupada is saying, when you see the beauty of Krishna, like when you're tasting the beauty of Krishna, how is Srila Prabhupada doing that?
How did Prabhupada do it?
How is Srila Prabhupada, well, he's obviously doing it all the time, right? He's not just doing it sometimes.
So what's your question?
How is Srila Prabhupada tasting the beauty of Sri Krishna?
How?
Yes.
Tivra Bhakti. It's that, the nature of the soul was restored, or in his case, fully restored. Not on the way, but fully restored. That's how. And then, there's a means to get there. That's Rupa Goswami's teachings, Abhideya, to get there. And break that one down. There's different processes or procedures in the process of bhakti. I think I'm going to call it class time is over. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.